Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Dennis Adegunloye. Let's begin with the headlines. Alleged genocide intelligence expert urges Nigeria to swiftly initiate diplomatic engagements by presenting its position and a clear picture of terrorist activities. Presidential initiative on unlocking healthcare value chain, and UNICEF launched new platform to empower Nigerian youths in manufacturing sector. And Tanzania's opposition Chadema calls on UN ICC to investigate violence that marred presidential polls. Federal government has been advised to swiftly initiate diplomatic engagements that will present Nigeria's position and a clear picture of the terrorist activities in the country. A security risk management expert, Kabir Adamu, in a conversation with State House correspondent Musba Danwahab on Executive Recap, also nudges the government to carry along the umbrella religious bodies in the country in managing and correcting the wrong perception about religions in Nigeria. He traces what led to the wrong perspectives being held by the U.S. government.
Starting from around January up until now, they visit Nigeria, they go to Plateau, they go to Benue. We try to encourage them to go to Zamfara, go to Katsina, go to the other northwestern states so that they get a balance. But clearly, they were more intentional in visiting Plateau. Now, we authorized that visit. We should have as a condition to granting them their visa, say they must go to Zamfara and Katsina. When the National Human Rights Commission published its July dashboard report, we cautioned, because what the National Human Rights Commission did in its July dashboard is to actually endorse this Trump narrative by saying that yes, there is a suppression of religion. But when they were now giving evidences, unfortunately they did not give evidence from one Islamic center that was attacked or cleric. All the evidences they gave was supporting Christian targeting, which was faulty.
Kabir Adamu urges the U.S. government to reconsider its developing considerations, warning that any untoward American action could be detrimental to the African continent.
Call on the Christian Association of Nigeria, call on the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs to sit together and issue a joint statement admitting to the fact that yes, there are killings, but that those killings are not targeted at any of the two faiths. They attack Muslims, they attack Christians, they attack churches, they attack mosques. Let the world hear from the two institutions that this is not really religious. After that, whatever the world decides to do, the Nigerian government has played its part. If it leads to state fracture, the consequences will be devastating for the African continent. I don't think that the African continent can contain a collapse of the Nigerian state. So I hope the Americans are very conscious of what they are doing and the consequences it could attract. And I must say, as someone who has set up a private firm that is monitoring security trends, from June this year up until now, we've seen a reduction in security incidents. We deserve that commendation from our ally, the United States, and not criticism of the manner that we've seen.
For more on this insightful interview, stay tuned to NTA for Executive Recap coming up at 10:30 tonight. Nigerian Railway Corporation has confirmed a train derailment that occurred at kilometer 212 ATM Agbo along the Warri-Itakpe rail line about 7:30 p.m. yesterday, November 1st. The NRC Managing Director Kayode Opeifa in a statement says preliminary investigations suggest that the derailment may have been caused by suspected track vandalism, and a full investigation is underway to determine the root cause. All those on board have been safely evacuated with no injuries or casualties reported. The NRC has announced a temporary suspension of train services on the corridor to facilitate a comprehensive investigation. The corporation apologizes for any inconvenience caused and assures Nigerians of improved services. Information available indicates that 2 of the 7 coaches were affected in the incident. Now, the African Union Commission congratulates President Alassane Ouattara on his re-election following the announcement of results in Côte d'Ivoire's presidential election. In a statement, the chairperson of the commission, Mahmoud Al-Youssouf, praised the Ivorian people for their participation in the electoral process and commends national institutions for ensuring a smooth voting process. He urged all political and social stakeholders to sustain efforts towards peace, dialogue and national unity. The African Union Commission reaffirms commitment to supporting Côte d'Ivoire in strengthening democratic governance, stability and sustainable development. Youssouf also recognized Côte d'Ivoire's ongoing role in regional peace and security initiatives, pledging continued partnership with Ivorian authorities to foster a stable and prosperous region. The Presidential Initiative on Unlocking the Healthcare Value Chain, PVAC, and UNICEF have launched a new initiative to empower Nigerian youths in the manufacturing sector. The program, under the Enabling Local Manufacturing Initiative, will identify high-demand roles, train 200 young Nigerians with a special focus on women and girls, and facilitate their placements in the manufacturing industry. Speaking in Abuja at a stakeholder dialogue on workforce development in Nigeria's health and nutrition commodity manufacturing sector, National Coordinator of PVAC, Dr. Abdul Mukhtar, identified 6 key barriers hindering industrialization, including policy, regulatory and legal frameworks, access to finance, market access, human capital developments, research and developments, as well as infrastructure.
That much is in the issues. The second is the technology is evolving. Every day things are changing. Even the processes, the whatever it is, everything, knowledge doubles almost every few years. So you also need to be able to refresh. Even if you have the skills at any given moment, you need to refresh at some point.
Around 200 and odd, about 200 youth with a 50% share of women and men are trained and placed with various institutions who are skilled, who have the right skills for the job, and they are placed in the right institutions. And hopefully 6 months after placement, 70% of them are retained in the positions.
Dialogue, which was held as a side event to the Nigeria EU Health Investment Forum, signals the start of a coordinated process to map job roles, mobilize youths, train, certify, and connect them to industry opportunities. Let's now join Frama Panyi with Global Update.
Right. This is Global Update, and I am Frama Panyi, bringing you stories from around the globe. Let's begin from Tanzania. Following the declaration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan as the winner and her return, Tanzania's main opposition party, Chadema, calls on the UN and the ICC to investigate and establish the truth on the ground, as hundreds are feared dead in elections that descended into chaos, with crowds taking to the streets across the country. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, who condemned the protest, was declared the winner with almost 98% of the vote. Tanzanians are not fools, says Deogracius Munishi, Chadema's international secretary. They have been recording all the incidents.
There was no election in Tanzania on 29th. People were on the streets protesting the fraud staged elections. People were on the streets refusing to be taken for granted by the current regime. Only the UN and the ICC can establish the truth on the ground. And that's why we are calling for them to do so without any delay.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth attends a welcome ceremony and meets with Vietnam's Defense Minister Van Giang in Hanoi as part of his Asia tour, his first ever visit to Vietnam. Apart from efforts to address war legacies, the two sides also discussed possible U.S. arms sales to Vietnam amid rising tensions in the South China Sea.
The United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth arrived in Vietnam on Sunday to reaffirm a partnership forged from the scars of the Vietnam War in a visit aimed at reassuring a key but cautious ally amid regional tensions. Hegseth emphasized that addressing the war legacies, which concluded 50 years ago in April, remains the foundation of defense relationship and a top priority for the administration and the Department of Defense. The trip also commemorates 50 years of diplomatic relations between the two former adversaries and 2 years since they elevated ties to comprehensive strategic partnership. Hegseth flew into Hanoi from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, where he joined a meeting of defense ministers from the Association of South Asian Nations. Post-war cooperation on issues like clearing unexploded bombs, recovering of remains of missing service members, and decontaminating toxins from Agent Orange at former U.S. air bases continues to form an emotional and political cornerstone of bilateral relations. The two nations have collaborated on these efforts since normalizing ties in 1995.
And India launched its heaviest ever communication satellite on Sunday, the latest in the country's ambitious space program.
India's space agency successfully launched its heaviest communication satellite on Sunday, making another milestone in the nation's rapidly expanding space program. Weighing 4,410 kilograms, SMS-03 is the heaviest communication satellite ever launched by the Indian Space Research Organization. According to the Indian Navy, the satellite will provide secure communication links between ships, aircrafts, and submarines. The launch vehicle, standing 43.5 meters tall, is an upgraded version of the rocket that powered India's Chandrayaan-3 mission, which achieved a controlled lunar landing in August 2023. Only Russia, the United States, and China have previously accomplished a soft landing on the moon. India's space capability have grown significantly over the past decades.
And that's the size of our package. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Frama. Let's turn our attention now to the war against drugs. A 20-year-old musician whose stage name is Steady Boy has been arrested by NDLEA operatives while attempting to take delivery of a large consignment of loud, a strain of cannabis concealed from the United States. Salwa Khalil Ibrahim reports that operatives also uncovered a clandestine laboratory where Colorado, a synthetic strain of cannabis, is being produced in Lagos.
This is the residential building located at an estate in Lagos, where large quantities of freshly cooked Colorado and various precursor chemicals for drug production are being produced. Owned and operated by a 30-year-old who is now in custody. In another operation in Lagos, NDLEA operatives raided the enclave of a 25-year-old drug dealer in Mushin, where 16 compressed blocks of Ghana Loud, a strain of cannabis, as well as designer sachet and bottles of Colorado were recovered from him.
1 of 16, 2 of 16.
A music artist, Steady Boy, was arrested by NDLEA operatives while attempting to take delivery of a large consignment of loud concealed inside 3 cartons of bathtub imported, along with other items such as clothes and gadgets from New York, United States of America. In Kaduna, NDLEA operatives on patrol along Abuja-Jos Highway intercepted a consignment of 84,710 capsules of tramadol coming from Onitsha, Anambra State, and heading to Bauchi. A follow-up operation in Bauchi led to the arrest of the 27-year-old recipient. 3 suspects were arrested at Abeokuta, Ogun State, after a team of NDLEA officers tracked their movement from Benin Republic and eventually intercepted their boss with a total of 1,779 kilograms skunk recovered from them. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. Let's take a break. More reports in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. The federal government's resolve to make Nigeria a maritime hub has received a further boost with the official handover of certificate of occupancy for 90 hectares of land by the Oyo State government for Monia Inland Dry Port Development. Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, Olufemi Oloruntola, while receiving the documents on behalf of the federal government, described the gesture as a clear demonstration of partnership and shared vision between the federal and state governments to expand economic opportunities through modern trade. The Permanent Secretary, in a statement by the Ministry's Director, Information and Public Relations, Anastasia Ogbonna, assures that the Monia Inland Dry Ports will be a strategic national project that brings shipping services closer to both importers and exporters, thereby stimulating industrial and agricultural growth across the entire southwest region. Oyo State Deputy Governor Abdul Rahim Lawal appreciates the federal government for its resolve to develop vital transport infrastructure across the country, reiterating the state's unwavering commitment to the project. And in a rapidly changing economy, the private sector remains the engine of growth, innovation, and job creation. But sustaining this momentum requires continuous collaboration between government and industry leaders. The partnership took center stage in Lagos as the Minister of State for Finance, Doris Sanite, led the maiden edition of the federal government's private sector dialogue series with the theme Southeast Finance and SME Growth Roundtable. Joken Abakoya reports.
The high-level dialogue brought together government officials, business leaders and entrepreneurs from the Southeast with a shared goal to make it easier for enterprises to grow and prosper.
Over the years, we only saw it in TV, that 150 billion is being budgeted by government. We only see it in pages of newspaper. It never gets to us. This is the first time government is telling us we will be part of it.
On the issue of the tax, actually is where we are concerned. Because an average trader did not in any way understand the current tax reform.
The focus should be more on project finance rather than corporate finance.
Convener and Minister of State for Finance, Doris Uzoka Anite, explained that the dialogue was created to make government more responsive by listening directly to entrepreneurs and addressing their challenges. She added that under President Bola Tinubu's leadership, government is determined to build an economy where businesses not only survive but succeed.
Under the leadership and influence of President Bola Tinubu, we are convening this dialogue to make government more present, responsive and accountable, to move closer to the people, to listen, to understand and to act. Because at its core, the work of government is to serve the people, not in words but in deeds, not from a distance but through genuine partnership.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, highlighted the administration's ongoing reforms in tax and trade facilitation.
The dialogue that you asked for, I can assure you, will play a big role. There needs to be dialogue, there must be dialogue. Even the feedback that we are hearing here today is telling us that there is need for more explanation, more clarification, and when it comes to major reform, it's all about the timing, it's all about the sequencing, and as you say, it's all about the consultation.
Participating government agencies outlined various support programs and incentives designed to help businesses grow. The dialogue concluded with a renewed commitment to strengthen public-private collaboration for sustainable economic development and shared prosperity. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakboya, NTA News.
Now, in a world where hardship often silences hope, charity works stand as a candle in the dark, a gentle reminder that kindness can still bloom in the midst of pain. For 15 years, the Doveland Charity Foundation has turned quiet tears into smiles, proving that even in life's roughest storms, compassion remains the surest shelter.
For indigent widows like Elizabeth Oyikomi and Alice John, life has been a long walk through hardship. Both women recall how survival, especially with children, has been an uphill task in these trying times. But hope came their way through Dovland Charity Foundation, an outreach initiative which recently empowered them alongside 50 other widows and school children from Wombang community and surrounding areas.
See, before my husband died, I've been selling my mind. But now, the market be some kind for now. To see food to chop on table is the height also. But now, I thank God for today.
God helping me, I will add it to my business. And I believe God for more increase.
It was hard before to pay my school fees. We struggled before they pay my school fees, but now I'm glad.
For this charity organization, it has been 15 years of consistent impacts, touching lives, restoring hope and inspiring people to become better versions of themselves, regardless of their circumstances. Through its numerous outreach programs, the foundation has continued to demonstrate that compassion and education remain powerful tools for transformation in the society.
Through this foundation, we give out to the poor. We cater for widows, for orphans, scholarship into schools, both in Dovland and outside Dovland.
So it's not for any particular person, it's for everybody. But what is important is the spirit of giving, to develop that act. And by doing that, the society becomes a better place.
Actually launching it to the public to make sure that they are aware that we are here to support children who come from less privileged backgrounds, who are not able to go to school. I'm also here to impact the lives of widows.
The foundation has over the years given scholarships to students of various public and private schools. Among other charity outreach it has carried out in recent times. Adobe Obiechina, NTA News.
A 19-year-old author, Topazi Ulaku Egbe, has presented a new mystery novel titled The Red Letter to members of the public in Abuja. Frama Panye reports that the young author seeks to use her book to inspire a reading culture among her peers.
The author, Topaz Ulaku Egbe, says the 89-page mystery is the first of many more to come. She says reading has long been a hobby which later developed into a passion for writing. For her, this day is a dream come true as she has always wanted to write her own fantasy.
After reading several stories, mystery stories, and I also watched a mystery series online, I started feeling like creating my own, so I decided to write this book.
For the author's parents and well-wishers, it was a moment of immense pride. They explain that Nigeria is blessed to have such talent and promise to continue encouraging and supporting the young author.
I feel vindicated. Do you know why? I don't know how to write. So God has balanced me, giving me a child that knows how to write. I hope that someday Topaz might win a Nobel laureate in literature.
When I was decluttering one time, I threw away her manuscripts, but subsequently she kept keeping manuscripts, newer ones. And so I realized that this was getting serious. It wasn't just academic work again, that this was something that she had passion for. And so I started encouraging her. One of the things I desire for her is to be able to win one of her Commonwealth essays, because she's been putting entries. But I want her to win that, and I also want her to get accomplished as an author.
An author called Lobsan Rampa is an Asian author. When you read the book of Lobsan Rampa, you may not understand it, because they have a lot of codes. And you need to decode those things to be able to understand what the book is all about. That is exactly what the author in Red Book did.
Professor Chinyere Egbe launched the book virtually. Frama Panye, NTA News.
No fewer than 400 groundnut farmers in Kano State have benefited from the federal government's Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones program during a farmers' field day held in Bibiji local government area. The events, which aligns with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda to boost agriculture and ensure food security, brought together farmers, agricultural experts and government representatives to showcase the impact of improved seed varieties, fertilizers and modern farming practices that have significantly increased groundnut yields in the state. Our Salisu reports.
The field day served as a platform for hands-on learning, peer exchange and technology adoption, while also creating new market opportunities for participants. Mariam Dankaka is one of 400 groundnut farmers in Bebeji local government area of Kano State, trained in good agronomic practices such as proper site selection, land preparation, spacing and pest control, all aimed at improving yield and promoting sustainability.
SAPZ first give us a knowledge. That knowledge they gave us is to enhance our farming activities. They gave us the knowledge in order to enhance our farming activities.
The initiative is part of a broader effort to empower smallholder farmers and strengthen food security across the state.
We advise the farmer to sow 1 to 2 seeds per hole. That will give the maximum yield plant population of 20 to 25,000 plant population.
Through the SPSZ project, we can collaborate and showcase a lot of technologies, not just the varieties of different values, of different traits, also with value addition.
Through programs like this, the federal government continues to support farmers like Mariam, enhance rural livelihoods, and build a more resilient agricultural sector in Nigeria. In Kano, Awal Salisu, NTA News.
And that concludes the news on NTA International. Thank you for watching. I am Dennis Adegunloye.